In this edition of In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, we catch up with Bengals quarterback coach Dan Pitcher. Great coach, does a great job with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow thinks the world of Dan Pitcher. They have a great relationship. And let's face it, Joe Burrow is the key to the franchise's success. Anybody that can help Joe Burrow perform at a higher level, the highest level that he possibly can, which is, goodness knows how high a level that is, because he's got immense talents, both physical, tangible, and intangible. Dan Pitcher is going to be a big factor in the development of Joe Burrow to the highest level of that potential. I think you're going to really enjoy what Dan Pitcher has to say. I appreciate First Star Logistics taking care of me with this podcast that we do every single week, multiple times a week. Now they're trying to take care of you as well. So you need to take advantage of the opportunity. If you haven't registered for the sweepstakes yet, you're missing out on a potential gold mine right around the holiday season. One prize, $3,000. How handy would that be? You could be Santa Claus to quite a few folks. No question about that. iPhone 13 is another option. Good prize right there. Dinner at Jeff Ruby's Steakhouse with me and my wife, you and a significant other, whoever that may be. Jeff Ruby's worldwide renowned right here in Cincinnati. I'm always up for a good steak, no question about that. And then we'll also I'll autograph a football, and you get 2 tickets to a Bengals home game of your choice down the stretch here as the Bengals make their playoff run. So come one, come all. You can register multiple times. The information to get it done, you'll see it right below here. Take advantage of it. You won't regret it. Thanks for joining us in the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, emanating from our lovely studios here at First Star Logistics. And pleased to be joined now by a special guest, quarterback coach for the Cincinnati Bengals, Dan Pitcher. And Coach, you got yourself some talent there at the quarterback position to work with. Joe Burrow, I mean, it's pretty spectacular to be part of his evolution in the National Football League, I would assume.
Yeah, no, he's been a ton of fun to coach. Obviously, he's a great guy to work with day in and day out. We got a really good dynamic here in the room, and it's just a joy to coach a guy who is so focused on getting better and demands so much of himself. And really that wears off on everybody else. So I enjoy the job that I have, and it's fun coming to work every day.
Let's talk about you and how you got yourself ready for this opportunity that you're currently enjoying, coaching the Bengals quarterbacks. You were a quarterback yourself, and a darn good one at the collegiate level, and then you got into I guess you liked the teaching aspect of things, and I always probably wanted to coach. But you started out as personnel, scouting, that type of thing with the Indianapolis Colts, then with the Bengals, then got into the coaching profession. So how has going through the process you've gone through, playing the quarterback position, coaching quarterbacks and wide receivers, working in personnel department, scouting, how has all that helped mold you into the coach you are today?
Well, I think it's given me a number of different perspectives that have helped me develop professionally, and certainly playing the position while at a much lower level has by far been the thing that has prepared me the most for this job, I guess, initially. Mm-hmm. And then I've learned so much more from a lot of really smart people since I've been in the league, but it definitely gives you the background to be able to, I guess, speak the language to an extent, to have a feel for what it's like to play that position. When everything's flying around you very quickly. So that has definitely helped. The personnel side of it has kind of, when I got into the league, that's what I did for the first couple of years, and that helped me learn about the business of the league, constructing a roster, evaluating players, everything that kind of goes into the NFL and things that I otherwise wouldn't have learned, or definitely would not have learned to the extent that I learned them. And then knowing all along that this is what I wanted to do, and this really, that coaching this position has been my goal, and I'm very grateful for the people here in Cincinnati that have given me the opportunity to do that, and not only coach the position but get a chance to coach a guy like Joe. So could not have gone better for me to this point. And I just try to take advantage of that opportunity every day.
I know you're tireless in your pursuit of gathering information. I mean, nobody does a better job of just accumulating, as much information as possible. And I remember talking to Tom Moore when he was coaching Peyton Manning in the early stages of Peyton Manning's career with the Indianapolis Colts, and he said, "Man, I'm telling you, this guy, he's insatiable. He has such an appetite for football and everything about it." He said, I'm doing everything I can to try to accumulate as much information as possible, and it's a challenge because he's like a sponge. Is Joe like that?
Yeah, he is. And Joe's very smart, and he can see and process a lot of information. And so it is a challenge in that you're constantly wanting to provide value to him with what you give him, but it's also your job as a coach not to overload a player with information that isn't particularly valuable, or
right.
That's information that's hard to put into action. It's one thing to know something, it's another thing to know it and allow that knowledge to inform your actions, and to do it very quickly at the quarterback position. So luckily, he is a guy that you can give a lot of information to, and he gives good feedback, and he'll tell you if, hey, I don't know if that's something that I can really utilize. I don't know how realistic that is. But yeah, it's a challenge, but it's part of the job. And it's a fun challenge, because that's, you get into coaching, and particularly coaching at this level, because you have a love for the scheme and the strategy that goes into all of it. And so it's great to have a guy like that you can push.
So during the bye week, when you guys self-scouted as such to try to determine if there were any trends or, things that have to be broken, and doing things differently, and I'm sure, accentuating the positive, maybe tweaking the negatives, or whatever the case may be. Does Joe do that himself with his play, or how do you guys interact during the bye week when you're going through all of that process of self-scouting?
Yeah, he does, and I think all players do to an extent. They rely on their coaches to kind of guide them in that process. One of the things that, I asked not only Joe, but, Brandon and Jake before we left on the bye, I just kind of asked each of them to think critically about, our process in the quarterback room specifically, and to bring me something that they really liked that we do, something maybe they wish we did more of, but then to also bring me something that maybe they don't get a lot of value out of, and maybe something that our time would be better spent doing something else. So the bye week gives you a chance, I think, to step back and think critically a little bit about your own process. It's so easy, as you know, to get into the weekly routine of we just do the same thing, bing, 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 bing. And I have confidence that we have a really good routine, but it doesn't mean that it's perfect, and it doesn't mean that it can't be tweaked. And so I think the bye week gives you a chance to do that, along with, analyzing your on the field play, and really kind of identifying things that have gone well and things that haven't, and what is a specific plan to fix those things.
So when you did go through the play of your quarterbacks in the first half of the season, what's the thing you like the most?
Well, the thing that I love about Joe is, just how decisively he plays, particularly in critical moments. There's never a moment too big for him, and he's very even keel when it comes to when those opportunities and those times come up during games. So that gives me a lot of confidence as his coach that he's going to make really good decisions. And then you just look at, things that obviously we need to do a better job of, and taking care of the football. That's always a give and take, because you want your guy to be confident and aggressive, and we have full confidence in him as a staff that he's going to make good decisions and put us in a great position to win games, and so you just point out the specific plays. Okay, maybe we could have done something a little different here. Let's put that in the bank, so the next time this situation comes up, we don't make the same mistake twice. But for the most part, with a guy like that, you trust him, you let him go, and that in the end, he's going to do a lot more good for you than he's going to do harm.
Yeah, his numbers. Let me make sure that I'm reading these properly. So, quarterback rating, 8th in the National Football League, tied for 4th with touchdown passes, tied for 3rd touchdown pass percentage of attempts, 2nd in the NFL in yards per attempt, 8.73 yards per attempt. That's pretty spectacular. 5th in the NFL completion percentage, 7th in yards. Doing a lot of things really, really well. Obviously, the fly in the ointment is the interceptions, and there's a story behind every interception, obviously, and in that balancing act you're talking about. Joe is so talented, so competitive, doesn't want to give up on any play. How do you coach that balance? I mean, how do you I guess get through the yin and yang of it?
Yeah, it's a challenge, but I think the best way to do it is to treat each situation as its own. No, as you just mentioned, no two plays are alike, and so you can't throw everything into a bucket and just say, "Hey, never do X,"
right,
or always do Y. Like those grand statements don't really get you anywhere, especially when you're talking to smart players, because they can always point out, well, what about this guy who was in a different place and we didn't expect him to be there? So like you have to really look at the details of every situation and treat them individually. And then you talk about how important it is to be a good decision maker, and all the things that go into that at different parts of a game. And certainly, like I just mentioned, we want our quarterbacks to be aggressive. We want them to have an attacking mindset, and we'll continue to be that way. And then we just gotta, the things that we can't control, we just got to make sure we're doing everything in our power to control them.
Of all the attributes that Joe has, physical and the intangible, the mental and the makeup and all that sort of thing, $1 million attribute is his accuracy. I mean, that's obviously throwing the ball straight is a primary requisite. There's no doubt about that. Can you improve accuracy? Is it something that you're either born with or you're not, or is there a way to take a guy that has not been historically accurate and make him an accurate quarterback?
It's kind of like the age-old question. I think there's probably a certain threshold that some guys may never cross. I think that yes, the answer is yes, you can improve it, because the one thing I believe that you can improve through training, even at this level, is play speed and timing and decision making, and all of those things play into delivering the football accurately. So if you can become really consistent in your lower body, and you can become really quick with your decision-making process and recognizing the defense and knowing where the ball is going to go, that's going to allow you to throw the ball on time, which is going to create bigger windows for you to complete passes. And so, yes, there is a certain amount of, how many millions of times has the guy been throwing the ball since he was 4 years old, and he gets to this level, and there's some guys that are more accurate than others. There's no question about it. But there are definitely elements of a quarterback's play that you can train that will help him reach whatever that maximum potential that he has as an accurate thrower. And so that's kind of the, I guess, nuanced answer to that question.
Is Joe one of the more accurate quarterbacks you've ever seen, Coach?
No question. Probably, I've been around some good ones, not a ton. You know, I'm still relatively young in this profession, but I've been around some good ones. And he's, in terms of accuracy, he's the best one that I've personally spent significant amount of time around.
You mentioned lower body, and everything starts with the feet and ends with the hands in sports. No matter what you're doing, shooting a ball, catching a ball, throwing a ball, whatever it is, it starts with footwork and ends with, you know, having it come off your hand the proper way, or getting your hands in place, or even blocking. You got to start with your feet and then with your hands and all that. But he had an extreme injury to the lower body. I mean, you tear an ACL and have other damage, collateral damage. That's no joke. And for him to come back the way he's come back, to be playing at the level that he's playing at, he's still basically in the late stages of rehab, correct? I mean, he still has to go through a rehab process in terms of keeping the thing strong and all that. And the way he's playing, it's pretty remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's very impressive, and it's really a tribute to his work ethic and how determined he was to just attack his rehab and come back in great shape. And it's also a testament to the people that helped him get there, to, you know, Nick and, you know, the other guys down there that work with him in the training room, and the strength guys, and,
yep.
You know, you know, to the surgeon, to all, just everybody around, you know, that whole situation. It's been, as his coach, a joy to see him progress the way he has. And so, you know, it's not a surprise to me, that just because I know him and I know what he's made of, but it's still been, you know, I've enjoyed seeing him get through that process and be the kind of player that he's been on the field.
He had the one little time at training camp where he had a little mental block for, you know, a short period of time, dealing with, you know, bodies around him and all that sort of thing, which is totally understandable. But since he worked through that little blip, I mean, it has been amazing to watch him. Now it's not, you probably not even thought about, not even considered. Is it part of the equation at all? Does anybody ever even talk about the knee reconstruction that Joe had to have done?
It's not part of my process. You know, it's part of what you do at this level, you know, as a coach, and you know, you're in a professional organization with a lot of professional people that take pride in their jobs. And the way I viewed it is, my job is to coach Joe, the football player. Early on, it was certainly part of my job to be in constant communication with the trainers and seeing where he was at, and making sure that there was no conflicting parts of what we did in football practice versus what he was doing in rehab. You know, and certainly there's still that line of communication open, but you know, that's, again, it speaks to, you know, how that process has gone for all the people that I just mentioned, that I don't, as his coach, really have to consider that. You know, they tell me he's healthy. My eyes tell me he's healthy. He tells me he's healthy. And so we coach Joe, the football player, and he's done a great job.
He really has. In my mind, it's a 2-horse race for comeback player of the year. Joe Burrow and Dak Prescott. You know, for Dak Prescott to come back from what he's come back from so quickly and be doing what he's doing is admirable as well. But in my mind, that's it. Those two guys, you know, you can make cases for free. I'm obviously biased, and I think Joe should be comeback player of the year. And in terms of upside, how much more upside does a guy like Joe Burrow have, do you think?
A ton. You know, you look at guys that have played that position for a really long time and have won a lot of football games, and he shares a lot of the traits that those individuals have that have allowed them to have that kind of success. So, you know, Joe knows the work he has ahead of him. He knows how hard it is, but he also possesses all the traits that would allow him to achieve similar levels of success to some of the guys that have, you know, really played that position at a high level for a long time. So he has a ton of room to grow, and the upside is significant.
That's great news for all Bengals fans' ears. There's no question about that. When you look at it, it's the midpoint of the season. Not just Joe, offensively. What do you think the Bengals are doing best offensively at the halfway point of the season as such?
Well, I mean, you kind of rattled off some of the numbers, and I mean, numbers they tell you some of the story. They don't always tell all the story. I think we've gotten better at creating explosive plays as an offense. I know that was something that was talked about in the offseason and talked about publicly and privately, and certainly our skill position players have really stepped up to the plate in that area. And Troy, with the receivers, and James with the tight ends, and Justin with the running backs. I mean, they've all kind of had their share of opportunities that they've taken advantage of. I can think of multiple plays at all those positions, and so that's been really fun to see us grow in that area, and it's something we got to continue to do. We've been, in my mind, very consistent running the ball. Obviously, there's time, game in, game out. There might be games where the numbers are better one week than they are the next, but I know I see what goes into that phase in the building, and it's great to have total trust in the people that are putting that plan together, and how detailed it is, and how just professional that approach is, and so ton of confidence in that area too. Obviously, room to grow, run, pass, all that, but I think we're on a good path, and we just got to continue to move forward.
As you've self-analyzed, what are a couple of things, 2 or 3 things that have been identified that need to improve on down the stretch if you want to try to make a playoff run?
We kind of mentioned the one, which is just doing everything in our power to take care of the football, while at the same time continuing to attack and play aggressively. So that just means being smart, making great decisions, recognizing there will be some things that are out of our control at times, but that's one. Control the controllables there. And then it's a little bit, sounds like a broken record, but we got to keep, when the opportunities present themselves to make big plays down the field, keep making them. It's when you look at, just some of those plays that have occurred, particularly, towards the end of the halves, and in a lot of these games, and they really are game altering plays. And they allow you to play the game from a position of strength in the second half, where Zach and Brian, as the play callers, can really, you have the whole gamut of options available to you, and so keep taking advantage of those opportunities, so that those guys can keep doing a great job, and really keeping the defense off balance.
Yeah, I'll tell you, boy, it's I know there have been probably too high a percentage of 3 and outs for your guys' taste. I'm sure that, and all 3 and outs are distasteful, but you don't want to fall into any 3 and out patterns. And 3rd and short, comes to mind, I guess, is maybe taking care of that part of it a little bit better. But boy, there are many more positives to build on and accentuate than there are things to fix. There's always things to fix, but building on the positives is going to be, I think, a big key in that playoff run. There's no doubt.
I agree.
Coach, appreciate your time. Appreciate what you're doing for the Cincinnati Bengals. I know Joe Burrow appreciates the heck out of you, because nobody works harder. And thanks for carving time for us today, sir.
No problem, Lap. We'll catch up with you soon.
At First Star Logistics, we're a very strict company that really puts the pressure on our employees. Breaks? What are those?
That's what I'm talking about, Icky. Get the body right, then the mind's right.
Yeah. Gotta get that body right. That's right. Yes, sir.
Become a star with a chance to earn the highest commission percentages in the industry as a freight broker agent. Check out firststarlogistics.com.